On this episode of What's Going On with Shipping, welcome aboard the motor vessel Walmart. That's right. Walmart is joining the line of companies that are chartering their own ships to transport their goods. And so in this episode of What's Going On with Shipping, we're going to take a look at what does this mean for Walmart and the other companies that are potentially thinking about this. Hi, I'm your host, Sal Mercagliano. I'm a associate professor of history at Campbell University, former merchant mariner, and an adjunct instructor in maritime industry policy at the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. So this is a story that came out a few days ago, and I had a chance to get to it yet, but it's a great story, and I really want to kind of focus in on it because we've seen some images of this, and what does this mean? Are we going to be seeing big white ships with Walmart on the side of it? Probably not. But let's talk about this. So here's a story from Business Insider. Dollar Tree describes container ship chaos with voyages doubling in length, costs skyrocketing, one boat turned away from China over a single COVID case on board. So American suppliers and American retailers are having a hard time getting product to put on the shelves. This gets even worse as we're coming into the end of August, early September, and the goods that need to be on the shelves and in the warehouses for Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, are not going to be there. Or if they are, they're going to be delayed and maybe stuck on ships out at anchorages or en route, or on railways, on trucks, who knows. And this story goes into detail looking at the issue here with Dollar Tree. And one of the things that Dollar Tree is sending the alarm about is, number one, increased freight rates. It's getting more expensive. Priorities there, the cost to ship a box is increasing. We've done many videos on that talked about that, talking about the spot market, the market to just spot freight. So for example, you may book with a carrier X amount of containers shipping across every month, but sometimes you're going to have peaks and all of a sudden I need X plus 100 boxes or X plus 1,000 boxes. Well, those 1,000 boxes are not coming at the same rate that you previously booked into. You're going to have to spot rate it. You're going to have to find a spot on the ship for it. And those rates are increasing. As you see right here, they've spiked 20% over the last earnings call. And they're talking about this staying. I've seen rates staying up until 2022. This says 2023. I don't know about that. That's a long time out. But what we're seeing here is a lot of issues. And this came out of Dollar Tree's earnings statements where they had their meeting with their stockholders and explaining that, listen, things are getting expensive. We're not making the margin of profit we thought we were going to make. And they are not alone on this. Here's a Forbes story that talks about Walmart, Target, and Home Depot, all basically talking about their supply chain meltdowns and how it's getting very difficult for them to handle that. And it all becomes this: more inventory, less empty shelves. Well, how do you achieve that? You need to improve that. You need to get it going. And what we're seeing is depression in the market share. We're seeing the amount of goods they're holding substantially down. Walmart down by 20%, Target down by 26%. And this is going to have an impact. We're going to see less and less goods on the shelves. And that could mean everything from toilet paper to microchips going into manufacturing. So what does this mean going on? Again, we're seeing this across the entire supply chain. It's not just in the United States. It's in Europe. It's in Africa. It's in South America. It's in Australia. We're seeing this whole thing. But this is going to have a toll, obviously, in what is happening here. And this story in the American Shipper talks about that in some details. They start talking about this. They're talking about, for example, Vietnam, which right now is in the middle of a lockdown due to COVID outbreak, and they're not moving cargo at all. Vung Tau, Haiphong, major ports in Vietnam are shutting down. And we've seen this happen in China, but China is much more localized. They're able to control the ports and do a 2-week shutdown. When Ningbo, for example, had their shutdown, that was only one of 6 terminals in Ningbo. Same thing in Yanatan. We can still see these shutdowns happen, but right now in Vietnam, we're seeing a pretty substantial one. This is Chittagong in Bangladesh. Looking at the number of vessels coming in, you can just see the drop there in arrivals and departures coming in the amount of containers they're moving. And then here's the percentages departed versus booked in China's top 5 ports right now. And again, you're seeing that massive escalation and floating here. So let's go back to a story we did not too long ago where we joked about Home Depot getting a vessel. I did an entire video, I'll link it in the video, in the show notes for you at the end. You can link right over to it. Home Depot chartering its very own ship to avoid shipping problems. Now, again, you're not going to be seeing a ship with Home Depot on the side doing it. What they're going to have to do is there's problems associated with this. You can't just go out and book your own ship. You can, but you have to have issues with agreements with terminals, with ports, both on the delivery end and the receiving end. So, if you're getting your goods from China, you need to get on berth in China. Well, you just can't charter a ship and show up at a berth and sit there and say, I want to book cranes and move containers. You have to have these arrangements. So Home Depot will have to make that agreement with a shipping company. Basically, what they want to do is charter an entire ship and load it with goods for Home Depot so they can get it here before Black Friday, which makes sense. If you look at the freight rate right now per container versus the charter rate for a vessel, that seems much more affordable. If you're paying $10,000 for boxes and you're chartering a 10,000 box, and you need to move 10,000 boxes, that's a lot of money. It's much better to charter one 10,000 box vessel for a set charter rate and load it with all your cargo. However, there are costs associated with that that go beyond the charter rate. Fuel costs, port charges, handling charges, taxes, you name it. I mean, it's not a simple wash. What this does for Home Depot, but is guarantee them their cargo coming across. It's not going to be cheaper, but it's going to get their cargo across. But now we hear Walmart. Walmart's dipping into the vessel charter market. And this is not the first time they've done it. They did this back in the early 2000s where they talked about this. And again, you're not going to see white vessels with Walmart written on the side. That's not what you're going to see. They're going to charter vessels from companies to carry exclusively their cargo. But Walmart's issue isn't Black Friday. It's just daily business. They're having issues getting goods into their stores. And so what they're going to need to do is charter not one vessel, but multiple vessels, because they're going to need vessels moving across in a continuous flow. That means you have to have a vessel loading in China. You have to have a vessel sailing across. You have to have a vessel offloading in the United States and one ship going back. So you're talking about multiple vessels to make not just one container load, but a liner service of ships moving all the time. This is the problem that Walmart has right now. They just cannot, they're getting bumped. And they have agreements with shipping companies to move their containers, but they're not meeting the capacity. They're getting these extra surcharges on top of it. This is a story in GCAP that's from Lodestar. Here's one that's from Splash 24/7, talking about them going in and what they're trying to do. John Ferner, the head of Walmart CEO, says this: we've chartered vessels, we've secured capacity for the third and fourth quarter and feel good about the inventory positioning, particularly compared to last year with inventory up 20% across the segments. So they have already, as we find out here in the story, Walmart has already completed 2 voyages, both arriving in the U.S. this month, using Walmart branded 53-foot containers. That's another element of the story that's really key. One of the things that's been slowing down the shipments is 53-foot containers are not typically shipped on vessels. It's usually 20 and 40-foot containers. You can ship some 53s, but not a lot. And understand, to move containers across the United States, the U.S. loves using 53-foot containers. This is the container developed by J.B. Hunt. Big, long. If you've seen trucks really having difficult times going around corners, those are 53-foot container boxes. And one of the things that you want to do is, if you have 53-foot containers, you put a lot more in them. If you take 40-foot containers, you can take 3 40-foot containers and pack them into 2 53-foot containers, which means when you're hauling them by truck, it's one less truck, more efficient. The problem that's been in the past is these 20, 40-foot boxes are coming in. They have to go to a warehouse, be unstuffed, and then restuffed. That's additional handling. This allows you to have 53-foot containers ready to put on the back of chassis and trucks and send off. You see right here, the first voyage had 177 53-foot boxes on board. The second one contained 247. There are no container ships 177, 247 going across the United States, coming across the ocean. Let me be clear. That is minuscule. The ships you see coming into LA, Long Beach, Oakland, Seattle are thousands of TEUs, from smallest maybe 2,000, 3,000 up to 15,000 TEU. So Walmart in this case is chartering a portion of a ship to carry it. Now, if they amp that up and they start going bigger, that's an issue. Now, I should mention that 53-foot containers can't go down in the interior of a vessel typically. They usually have to be loaded on top of a vessel, which limits the amount. So they're basically chartering the top of the vessels. It doesn't look like they're chartering entire vessels the size of Ever Given, for example. And that's a very telling statement right there. The other issue you have is, I got to tell you, chartering a container ship right now is ridiculous. This is a story from S&P Global right now. Container ship long-term charter rates climb to record highs amid vessel shortages. Average rates increase above 30 months in 8,500 TEUs, 20-foot equivalent unit, eclipsed $100,000 a day. $100,000 a day. Again, if you want to put 8,500 containers on a vessel and you have a $10,000 charter rate, for example, do the math. I mean, it's 8,500 times 10,000. So you're talking about $85 million to get cargo on there. I think I did my math correctly. I did do my math correctly. I actually paused to do math on my phone. Again, PhD in history, not mathematics. So $85 million to hold that cargo. But again, if you charter a vessel for $100,000 a day, that gets you 85 days. That gets you 85 days. Now, I will say 85 days, that sounds like a lot, but it's really not. Because again, you're adding fuel, you're adding port charges, everything across, but what you're getting is a dedicated vessel. The problem right now isn't the $100,000 a day, it's to find the vessel. There are just not vessels out there. If you have a container ship sitting in your backyard, if you have access to a container ship, put it on the market because you're going to get money for it right now. Charter ships are making money like you would not believe. You read the story right here, they talk about this charter rate jumping up here, whereas a year ago, you're talking about $20,000 a day. You're talking about a 5-time increase per day in that, which generates huge amount of profit right there. That's why a lot of these non-container company owning NOOs, non-ocean carriers basically out there, the ones who just lease C-SPAN, Navios, Danos, these companies that just lease vessels out are making a huge profit right now. And what we're seeing right now is ships not being scrapped. These are, again, what you're looking for charter rates right here. Here are the size of vessels, and then the dollar rates right here. You just see it just astronomically increasing. And what this has done then is led to this, which is now container ships on order right now have doubled. Container carriers are making huge profits. They realize they're raking in money hand over fist. And so therefore, they're putting orders in for new tonnage. And matter of fact, I am working on another video right now that's going to talk about Maersk getting back into vessel building with a new technology of propulsion that they're going with. So be sure you take some time right now, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you'll be alerted about new videos when they come out. Give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, what you like, what you didn't like. Obviously, my math skills leave something to be desired. But again, historian, former merchant mariner, not a mathematician. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, got a little bit about what to expect when you start seeing those Walmart containers coming across the ocean. We'll, of course, be following this story. Start doing your Christmas shopping now. Get in there. I'm telling you right now, there's going to be runs on things that we're not going to be able to get. If you want that Xbox, if you want that Peloton bike, if you want whatever you want to get, better order it now because the weights are going to increase before they decrease. This is Sal signing off. We'll see you next time on What's Going On with Shipping.